This is the course for the men's marathon. Remember, for the first time in World Championship history, we will have both marathons on the same day back-to-back. We start with the men, and it will be an opportunity to take in the finest sights of the great capital. They join a portion of the London Marathon course, snaking up the embankment. And where the London Marathon would turn right at the Houses of Parliament, they double back, and it will give, hopefully, tens of thousands of spectators an opportunity to get up close and personal with the greatest marathon runners in the world, St Paul's Cathedral, Bank of England, and then back to Tower Bridge. What a place to start and finish. And for anybody who's run the London Marathon, Tower Bridge is around about, what, 12 and a half, 12 and 3/4, and there's always so many people there.
All the athletes just about to come forward to that start line. So much different from the mass sort of participation you see in the London Marathon.
What an amazing place to start a marathon. Good to see quite a few spectators just lining up along either side of the tower, and they really do create a lot of noise when you run over Tower Bridge in the traditional big city London Marathon. It happens every April. You really can hear the volume from those who are there to support. There's Mekkonen. We're going to get some introductions here. Tamirat Tola, as I said, bronze medalist in Rio last year. He's a 59.37 man over the half marathon. PBs already this year over the marathon and the half. And he's got that raw track speed as well. I think Ulad of Denmark thought it was time to come forward, but it wasn't his turn. It was Tola's opportunity to be introduced to the crowd. And Yamani Sege, really good record when it comes to World Championship marathons. Silver behind the Eritrean 2 years ago. Geoffrey Kirui, World Junior Champion over 10,000 metres back in 2012. 209.37 this season, but he's got a lifetime best of 206 plus change. Daniel Wanjiru won the London Marathon here in March. No relation to the late, great and much missed Sami Wanjiru, who became the Olympic champion in Beijing in 2008. The athletes are poised and ready. 26.2 miles of pain, intrigue and glory is about to begin. They're underway. The 2017 IAAF World Championship Marathon has started on one of London's most iconic landmarks, Tower Bridge. Slightly downhill for the first few metres. And it really is good to see so many members of the public alongside, ready to cheer on this multi-lap course. Virtually perfect conditions for marathon running. As far as we can tell in the stadium, there's barely a breath of wind where we are. And we're assuming that's pretty much the case for the marathon. And it'll be a long time, you suspect, before we see anybody making a big move off the front. But the fancied names will be those from Kenya and Ethiopia. And it's Sege who seems to be asserting the very, very early pace as we tick into the second minute of what should be 2 hours of top quality drama.
Yes, it's going to be a fairly casual start, isn't it? You can't expect any of these athletes to go hell for leather right from the gun, but they're going to be taking a cautious look at each other, deciding what to do, and maybe even running a little bit as a team. I suppose, opportunity to do that as a team in a marathon is a bit more than, say, on the track events. And maybe they'll use the idea of allowing one of their teammates to take the pace up to set it up for one of the others. But at the moment, they're still sort of taking it fairly easy, although it is stringing out somewhat. Crowds lining the course, which is a nice course to watch, really, doubling back on itself. Gives you an opportunity to see the athletes as they go out and as they come back. And as I say, beautiful conditions, as Rob said, almost perfect for distance running here in the capital city.
Interesting that the organisers have decided to put the marathons on back-to-back. The women's will follow. I think there were a few concerns that perhaps if it was a scorching day, those of you who haven't travelled to Britain, we can go from feast to famine in terms of our weather in the space of a couple of hours. So there was always the potential for it to be a very, very hot day. And I think the women were potentially concerned that they could be running at the hottest part of a very, very tough day for marathon running. As it is, I think even when it does get warmer as we head towards 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock this afternoon, conditions are favourable and will remain favourable for marathon runners throughout the course of this Sunday.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I've been in a situation where I've watched some marathons where it's even too hot to stand and watch, let alone compete. So I agree with you. I think maybe today, even in the shade there, it might be a little bit cooler than you think. Even in the shade, quite cool. But when you come out into the sun, it is warm. And as the shade disappears for the women's marathon, it will be a little bit warmer for them. But nothing, I don't think, is going to cause a problem.
Quite sensibly, a few of the athletes deciding to run to their own pace and their own schedule. And again, any of you who've run a marathon or jogged a marathon, you know that old adage that when you get to 20 miles, in terms of how your body feels and how your body's reacting to what's going on as your reserves of energy begin to deplete, that last 6 miles can feel like the second half of the race. So no point in overcooking it in the early stages. Have you run a marathon, Steve?
Luckily, no. I've probably run a marathon in training by mistake, but I've gone out on the long run, but never in a race itself.
2 laps. 2 laps the optimum, and then 3 3/4 when you fancied it, and the odd outing over 12.5.
Very odd outing over 12.5. Extending pain by another, what was it, 10 laps or so is just too much for me. So I settled on doing the easy job sometimes. Running a marathon, no, doesn't really appeal to me, I'm afraid. But, you know, each to his own. Have you run a marathon, Rob?
Yes, I've run London 5 times. It's one of my favourite days of the year, either to run it or to commentate on it. It's a very, very special city on that one particular day.
Dare I ask, personal best?
Sub 3. Only once, but I cracked sub 3, and then
2:59.
2:59.48. I can confirm there was quite some party afterwards. I rehydrated with vigour, I think we can say.
Well, I'm no runner, but I did run the first London Marathon, and I enjoyed it for a little longer than Rob did. I was around just over 3.5 hours, so there we go.
So Kath, come on.
I feel I have to join in. I've never run a marathon, of course. I was a 400-metre engine, but I am running my first half marathon in the Great North Run on the 10th of September. I'm challenging myself.
Mary's back out of retirement.
Yeah. And going
17 years. 17 years after the bronze. Mary's back. You heard it here first.
I will take tips from you all. Gratefully received.
Not from me, Kath, I hope, but there we go. Well, the races, again, not really maturing into more than just a cautious start from these athletes, really. There you can see the whole group not really sort of stringing up too much here. The aerial shot really not giving us much chance to pick out athletes, but there's no real surge at the moment from the top runners. No one making a break early in the race. It is only 6 minutes in, let's forget. We're talking a 2 hour plus. Well, nowadays, do we talk about 2 hour plus? Rob, I suppose, you know, we could talk sub 2 hours now.
Well, we could do a whole half hour on that. I mean, I'm certainly, it was great to watch, but I'm certainly looking forward to seeing Eliud Kipchoge, who in my opinion is the greatest marathon runner in history. I'm looking forward to seeing him in a more traditional 26.2 mile race later this year to see if he can break the existing world record of 2:02.57. You know, 25 seconds outside the 2 hours, you know, on that racetrack was great, and it was absorbing to watch. But the traditionalists still like to see a marathon run under the usual circumstances with the usual assistance.
Agreed. Anyway, back to the race. There's not much being changed at the front. Sergei just moving along there in the middle of the pack. Right at the back there, Shin I think it is just tagging along, trying to keep up with the rest of the pace. Kim, his other teammate there, Korea. Very quiet on some of the parts of the course, but then they come to the more scenic areas where the spectators will be waiting. And they give some help to the athletes there with applause and support.
So remember, it's 4 circuits plus a little bit to make up the 42.5k, and they've just gone through the first 10k loop. Tower of London on the left and the Shard. And just an update on the splits. They went through in around about 31.5 minutes. So what's that? It's 31.5, around about 2:12, 2:13 pace at the moment. It's pretty steady.
Great shot of the Tower of London there as the athletes come past. As Rob said, they're taking it sort of fairly easily. Mutai there, Kiptich. Most of the African nations are moving ahead. Callum Hawkins, though, led through the first part of the race there from Great Britain. He went through the checkup at the 5k in about 31:35, as Rob said. So these athletes moving along at a reasonable pace. I don't think it's going to be a destructive pace for anybody at this stage. But having said that, they're still working hard.
Very steady, actually, for that first 10k. I think I had that around 2:12, but in fact that works out just a shade over 2:13. So that explains why there are still so many of them grouped so closely together. And all the Kenyans and Ethiopians will be quite happy just to let the early miles tick off. And how about this from a British perspective? Callum Hawkins, the pride of Scotland, the pride of British marathon running, doing what he did, Steve, in the Rio Olympic Games last year when he found that the pace wasn't fast enough. He wasn't interested in the reputation of Eliud Kipchoge. He hit the front and took it on. And the aggressive front-running Scot has done exactly the same here.
Well, it's good to see, isn't it, Rob? You're a Scotsman yourself. You're good to see a man up there in front doing what he has to do. But at this sort of pace, he can do that. And I think it's good. Gets him in front of the camera, gets him a little bit of support from the locals, especially goes past some of the main crowds here in the capital city. Time, as we said, just going through the 10k, it was, well, Callum went through in 31:35. And you can see, though, that the rest of the athletes are quite happy just to tag along as best they can. Along the side of the embankment now, there's the traffic going over one of the other bridges. The whole of the circuit's been closed off for these two marathons today, the men's and the women's. The course suitable for this sort of event, not like the London Marathon going around the city itself. It's actually, as we said, a loop course, which makes it great for everybody to watch.
Looking at the back of that group, there's Tola, the very talented Ethiopian 10,000 metre runner. Has made an excellent transfer onto the roads. He's in that group. Meucci was up with the leaders and is in that lead group. He was out front a little while ago, Daniel Meucci, who you may remember. He's just halfway down the course on the left-hand side there with that distinctive white vest and the blue shorts of Italy. He led for large parts of the marathon in Beijing a couple of years ago. And despite having to pop off for a restroom break, if we say that, he managed to finish 8th. So the Italian is up there with the leaders as well. Kibet, expatriated Kenyan representing the United States. He's in that lead group as well. But what a backdrop for a world-class marathon. And maybe, Steve, the reason for deciding to have both marathons on the same day is that it makes it easier closing the roads. One of the massive stations there. I think that's Charing Cross, Cannon Street station. And that boat there in the foreground, that's where loads of marathon runners go for a couple of beers after they've finished. I went there in 05 and stayed for a lot longer than I should have done.
So you didn't pick the station up, but you actually picked the boat where you had the beers out.
Yes. Callum Hawkins has done his turn of leading. It's Messel now, one of the very talented Eritreans, up onto the shoulder of the Briton. Tight turn there. good to see so many people on the course. I think that's St. Paul's just in the background there, in the foreground. And we have a very big group still running together, Steve, which you can understand, bearing in mind the steady rather than spectacular split times that we've got. What's that? 46.56 at 15k. Well, they have improved and increased the pace a little bit. So they were at just around 2:13 pace. Now they're running more like 2:11, high 2:10s.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why the groups are beginning to split just a little bit.
Well, you're seeing, yeah, the rhythm there. They're running about, what is it, per K, about 3:07 for each kilometre. That last 5k would be in about 15, 20, 15, 21, something like that anyway. So they're, as you say, they're running pretty reasonably. They're still there in a massive group, really. And I think there's going to be no real surge from this group of about, what, 20, maybe 30 athletes until we get to the second half of the race. They're taking on as much fluid now as they possibly can. They've just gone through one of the drink stations there. And yeah, there's not really a major break in that group of about 30 or 40 athletes.
It was good to see Gideon Kipketer up in that group, winner of the Mumbai Marathon last year. There's such a big, expanding movement of distance running in India. There is Kipketer. They've got the marathon in Mumbai in January, a very high-quality 10k in Bangalore in May, and a half marathon in Delhi in November. So Kipketer's been over there running well in India, and he was leading here, and he was just beckoning. He was using his left hand, asking one or two of the others to increase the pace and help him a fraction. So he's clearly feeling in the mood, Gideon Kipketer, who's run 2:05.51 this year when he was second in Tokyo in a new lifetime best. And now you suspect, you know, with 15, well, with coming up 17, 18 kilometres run, now we've got a race on our hands, Steve. Look how quickly that massive group has split, almost in the 3 or 4 minutes that we've been talking.
Well, you just say that. You just say that Gideon Kipketer just waved his teammates on and said, come on, let's get going here. And well, he did the pacemaking in that 2-hour time trial. So he knows the sort of rhythm that you're going to have to run respectively well. But yes, the throttle's gone down a little bit. This just could be a surge, or this could be a major move. We'll have to wait and see at the moment. But you can see now that they're trying, the two Kenyans, just to lift the pace enough to break up this group.
Kirui running alongside his taller compatriot. Won the Boston Marathon this year. There he is. So the two Kenyans side by side, deciding that the steady pace is not what they want. Look at the way in which Kirui is moving away. Very little upper body movement. Such an efficient looking runner, very compact. Kirui leads. They have gone through 20k in just around about 62 minutes. And the last time we saw the athletes, we had Kipketer and Kirui forcing the pace. And look at this, Great Britain's Callum Hawkins once again deciding to hit the front. We saw him leading a little bit earlier along the embankment. This is very aggressive running from the Briton, and it's good to see, because a lot of people feel as though Western athletes and European athletes are intimidated by the might of the East Africans and feel that they can't beat them. Well, that's not the way Callum Hawkins races, as he's got Tola, fabulous talent from Ethiopia, on his shoulder. Still a big group together. But it is excellent and refreshing to see a European distance runner not afraid to get involved and set the pace as we head towards the halfway stage. Tola from Kirui. Mekkonen is up there in that big lead group, and so too Jachasa, another one of the expatriated athletes now representing Bahrain. And that's an unusual sight there. That's Sege looking very laboured. Now, he got the silver medal in Beijing 2 years ago, but his race looks to me as though it's very soon to be over. So we have had the first casualty here in the marathon, and races can unravel so quickly for so many different reasons. But Yamane Sege clearly struggling. There he is, I think, just towards the top of your picture there, running on his own. He has become totally detached from the lead group. So the silver medalist from 2 years ago looks as though his quest for a medal is over, and by drifting that far back that quickly, it would be a great effort from him if it was to turn out that he actually finishes the race. Pace keeps changing here because we've had a big group together, and now they're spreading out once more, with Toller leading, the bronze medalist in the 10,000 metres. There you can see it's around about 2:11 pace at halfway. Tamirat Toller clearly felt the pace wasn't quick enough and decided that he would take it on. Kirui, Callum Hawkins, Tachasa, Mekkonen, Munyo Mutai. But this is aggressive work here, Steve, from Tamirat Toller, who has lowered his lifetime best over the half marathon to 59.37. So this leading trio are coming away from the rest, and with a PB like that over the half marathon, going through halfway in 65 plus should feel very comfortable.
Yeah, Toller's doing all he has to do here. I mean, I think the big move was made by the Kenyans just about, what, 3 or 4K ago. And now Toller obviously responds, just looking at his watch there, just checking the time of his pace. So these three, I think, are breaking away, and it looks as if Kirui's decided to take up the rhythm again. So a bit of a battle going on here already in the early stages of the marathon. And as a lap course, they can perhaps really see what's going on a bit further along than they can in a major marathon where they're ducking and diving. They can actually, probably looking back there, they can see where the other athletes are. They can check all the time what's going on.
Kirui from Toller and Kipketer. 3 world-class distance runners. And in the space of a couple of minutes, they have established, what, 25, 30-metre advantage over the rest of the chase group. And this marathon is beginning just to step up a little in terms of the intensity. 2 clear leaders here. And it's really good work by the Kenyans. Remember, it was Kipketer and Kirui who set the pace. These are the chasers as they head down the embankment. I'm pretty sure Kipketer and Kirui will still be the 2 men leading. This is the battle to get in the hunt to try and track down a place on the podium. Running along the embankment, heading up towards Big Ben.
I think Toller is also up there somewhere. There he is. Just sort of, those 3 really haven't really changed much, really. There's been that sort of 2 at the front, and then just behind them, you can see the groups are splitting up a little bit. There's not much of a change in the actual distance, the gaps between the actual athletes themselves. But having said that, they are starting to move ahead.
You're right, Steve. Tamirat Toller running alongside Kirui, with Kipketer just behind in 3rd, and a fairly sizable gap. You can just see the athletes in 4th, 5th and 6th down the road.
They're not pulling away. And Kipketer, that's funny, Kipketer seems to be quite happy just to jog along about 3 or 4 metres behind these 2. He's been like that for the last 2 or 3K. Doesn't want to get up there and mix them, and that's probably good. He's just relaxing in his own rhythm. Kirui just keeps looking over at Toller there. I don't know what they're actually saying between each other, but the conversation might be quite interesting if we could listen in. But there again, they're just ticking over the kilometres here, as I said before, in about just over almost 3 minutes 10 seconds for each of the Ks they're going through.
You can spot is that a young girl sprinting along, a young woman sprinting alongside to try and keep up. It always amuses me when you see club runners and fun runners sprinting alongside marathon runners, namely for the simple reason that they can't keep it up for very long.
Well, 20K we went through in 1 hour 2:15. So they're as I said before, they're running around about the 3:12 average split for the marathon. And most of these athletes, I think, quite capable of that. So really, it's surprising that they've actually gone that far ahead of the chase group. But there again, I mean, it's not a big gap as we saw before. It's not a major, I think, problem for someone that's coming through in the latter part of the race.
This is Kipketer. He's in 3rd place, and we are informed as he looks over his shoulder, he's 18 seconds behind the leading 2. And the last time we looked, it was Toller running alongside Kirui. I think these are the guys who are chasing Kipketer, who's further up the field in 3rd.
These are the leaders, obviously. Kirui just ahead of Tola there. These two have been in the lead, what, for the last 5K or so now. Not really much between them. They've been sharing the lead now and again as they swing around some of the fairly tight corners on the little course that they've put in front of them here. But it's been a fairly sustained pace from these two. They've started to pull away. There was a gap of only about 2 or 3 meters really between them and maybe the chase. But after that, they've decided to really push it on. You can see Korea now is really head down and going for it. Looking at the splits, they are still running around about, as I said before, about the 3 minutes. They're dropping slightly to about 3:04 now over those last 2 or 3 kilometers. So the pace is picking up. You can see now Kirui is doing all he can to try and break Tola just behind him. Again, the classic Kenya versus Ethiopia duel.
Steve, interesting to watch or get a glimpse there in the background of Kipketer, who's in 3rd, because the 2 chasers in 4th and 5th, one of them is Alphonse Simbu of Tanzania, who ran really, really well for 5th in Rio last year. And after that performance, he was chosen to carry the Tanzanian flag at the closing ceremony. That's Kipketer in 3rd, and Simbu is one of those 2 athletes just out of shot. So it's possible that they might catch Kipketer. There he is in 3rd, and he's been looking over his shoulder for the last couple of minutes since we've been watching these pictures. I think the Kenyan in 3rd is worried, and the guys in 4th and 5th might work together and close him down.
Yeah, I think that's without doubt. I mean, Kirui and Tola were just about 4 or 5 meters in front of him some 12 or 2K maybe ago, but now the gap has widened considerably, and I think that's why Kipketer is looking over his shoulder. He's a worried man. Maybe he's still comfortable. Maybe he wants to just let the others catch him up, and then they can just use those to key off them for the rest of the race. But he's got about, what, we've just been told 20 seconds or so on 4th and 5th. So there is a gap, but as Rob said, he's not looking comfortable. But then maybe he just wants a bit of a break and let the others catch up and join in with the rest of them.
So there are the leaders, and it's a familiar sight at the front of many distance races around the world. Kenya against Ethiopia, separated by that vast Rift Valley. An enormous rivalry, but a huge amount of mutual respect as well.
Well, they went through the half in 1 hour 5:28, so they're running about what, 2:11 pace. So that's pretty respectable. But most of these guys, though, could probably do that fairly comfortably. So as you can see why that the gap is opening up significantly now. Kirui really is pushing it on. You can see there is a real determination in his stride. Arm pumping well here. He really wants to get rid of the man just behind him. This is, again, I think 4th and 5th.
Yes, it's Wanjiru, who now has been passed by Simba, this fabulously talented Tanzanian. You could be mistaken for thinking it's a South African vest, but it's the green of Tanzania. So Simbu, the leader of these 2 men, he's in 4th place, and he will be setting his sights on Kipketer, who is further up the field, Gideon Kipketer. And these 2 are locked in a battle for gold and silver, but I think there's a real, if they manage to maintain their form, and there's still 40-odd minutes of running to go, Steve, 35 minutes. I still think that battle for bronze is not over yet.
Certainly not.
And Tola being given some encouragement by one of the Ethiopian coaches, who just stops running, and he's still going, but he is just about to get tired. Tola looking over his shoulder, not so much for the coach, but to look to see if he's made any ground and put any distance between himself and Kirui. And he is doing, although the Kenyan is not far enough behind him yet to say that he's broken. But this is a definite move from Toller, the bronze medalist in the 10,000 metres last year in Rio.
Yeah, definite move. And that you could see there's a definite increase in his pace. And Kirui, if he had anything in his legs, would have gone with him, I think. But it looks as if he was actually pulling far enough away. There's Kip Couture. He's still, I think, in third place at the moment. Just checking himself. He's obviously in that awkward position. He can't see anybody in front of him and he can't see anybody behind him at the moment. But that's the, I suppose, the problem of the World Championship Marathon as opposed to the big marathons where you've got guys around you all the time.
And also, Steve, if you look at the way this course is put together, we perhaps have a lot more turns and twists on a multi-lap course than you would do on the streets of a big city. This isn't about running fast times. This is about a head-to-head race for gold, silver and bronze. And Tamirat Toller of Ethiopia, with a PB this year of 2:04.11 set when he won Dubai, has decided this is his day for glory.
It's a tough ask, though, to get up there as much as he is at the moment and still run the last part of the marathon on your own. But he's decided to do it early, which is surprising, I suppose, because if he's got the spring in his stride, I would have perhaps held back as much as you can. But maybe he doesn't trust himself over a bit of a, well, if you can call it a sprint in the marathon, over the last part of the marathon to get away from the man just behind him, Kirui.
Well, Geoffrey Kirui is also a man with great talent on the track. He's a former world junior champion over 10,000 metres. There he is in second place. It's a very economical style, Steve. There's virtually no wasted movement in the upper body at all.
You can't waste movement in a marathon, can you, really? If you're doing it, it's not efficient, and that's what you have to be. Very, very efficient indeed. Toller, though, is starting to slow a little bit. I think there was a surge there, but that hill that they just went, if you call it hill, I suppose it's just an embankment there, really come up. He just started to slow a little bit. And Kirui maybe just sensed, look, he's struggling to get drinks as well. He maybe just sensed that he's not really putting that far away at the moment.
Took him 3 attempts there to get some water. And despite the fact that the conditions are fairly good for marathon running, they're quite rightly respecting the distance and getting themselves ready for the final assault on glory. The last time we were looking, Tamirat Toller of Ethiopia had put in a little injection of pace in an attempt to lose Geoffrey Kirui, the former world junior champion over 10,000 metres. At one stage, he was leading the Kenyan by around 35 to 45 metres, but Kirui has rallied and he now leads once again. So this battle for gold is far from over. Now, they've gone through 35k in around, well, what is it, 146, 145-ish. So they're running well at the moment. And it's the pace has increased in the second half of the race, which we would have expected. We're looking to see the gap between the leading two and the chasers, a 4:43 kilometre there. And yeah, 1:46 plus change. So they're inside 2:10 pace, and remember at halfway they were on course for 2:11. What I'm really intrigued to find out, Steve, is what's happening in that battle for the bronze.
Well, Kirui is pulling away. I mean, that was a decisive break. He actually went under the underpass there of the railway, and as he went in, you could see him surging. This is a real big effort from Kirui. And I think Toller, though, must now realise that perhaps that effort he put in earlier was just the wrong time to do it, because Kirui has rallied himself significantly and is pouring it on now.
And Steve, just an update, we get the splits as they go through each of the checkpoints. Alphonse Simbu has indeed caught Gideon Kipketer. Now it's unclear whether he's gone past him or whether they're running side by side. So we have a Kenyan streaking away from an Ethiopian, with a Tanzanian now moving into the hunt for the bronze. And remember, the Tanzanian wasn't too far away from the podium in Rio last year.
And another interesting fact, Callum Hawkins is moving through. He's now in 5th place on the scoreboard, and he's actually increased his performance because he's come through from about 6th to now 5th.
Callum Hawkins would be hoping, well, it would be an incredible performance if he was to get a medal. No British male has ever won a medal in this. Hugh Jones was 5th in the searing heat of Rome in 1987. Richard Nerurka was 7th in 95. What a performance from the Briton, though, who, remember, was in the top 10 in Rio. Not a million miles away from the medals.
He's 30 seconds behind third place.
Wow. Well, we shall keep our eye on whether Callum Hawkins can give the British crowds an unexpected cheer. They know he's talented, they know he's aggressive, and they weren't necessarily expecting him to be in the hunt for a medal, as we watch Geoffrey Kirui trying to pull away from Tamirat Tola, and they are running together. Callum Hawkins just out of shot now, but he's in 5th place, and this is Simbu from Tanzania, and although he has now caught Geoffrey Kipkeita's hanging on. They are the 2 most recent winners of the Mumbai Marathon. Simbu won this year, Kipkeita last year. Those are the 2 men battling for bronze, and it's hotting up nicely. So Tamirat Tola has been, well, unceremoniously dropped by Geoffrey Kirui, who I don't think, by the way, is related to Abel Kirui, who's won 2 editions of the world title. But what a performance from Kirui, who is pulling away here, and it looked 10 minutes ago, Steve, as though it would be the other way round, with Tola making a bold bid for glory.
Well, Tola is only 10 seconds ahead of that chasing group of Simbu and Kipkeita. As I said before, he doesn't look as if he's actually got much more left in the tank, Tola. He's dropping back significantly as this man opening the gap almost in every stride. And if that's the case, then Tola may start slipping back past Simba and Kipkeita. It's whether Callum Hawkins now, and it would be an absolutely staggering performance if Callum could come through this group as they start tiring.
Well, Hawkins is in 5th place. Of course, we marvel at the likes of Geoffrey Kirui and Tamirat Tola and Alphonse Simbu, the East Africans. Great shot there of Kirui. Really strong looking athlete who's come through the bad patch. It would be an extraordinary story indeed if Callum Hawkins were to get on the podium. He's talented enough and aggressive enough to believe he can do this in 5th place, trying to close down on what he hopes will be a tiring Geoffrey Kipkeita, who has been passed. He was in 3rd place, he's now in 4th, just behind Alphonse Simbu. Well, no British male has won a World Championship medal. As I said, Hugh Jones was 5th in 87, and I think the other closest time Great Britain have ever come to a medal in the marathon recently was Richard Narurka, coming 5th, not too far away from the podium in Atlanta in 1996. So I make it the last time a British male was a global medalist in a marathon was probably Charlie Spedding, getting on the podium back in LA in 1984. That's how much of a surprise it would be if Hawkins can close the gap on Simbu up in 3rd.
Well, you're right. It's almost going back into the days of black and white television to see a British vest coming up into the medal positions in an international marathon. But let's go back to what's actually going on at front here. And Korea looking over his shoulder all the time, but he doesn't need to really. He's just got to keep going, I think, to get the goal, because I think if he can, there's no one really coming through that's running at this speed to make the differential up and catch him.
Well, it's good work here from Kirui. He obviously weathered his personal storm, and he has managed to come through the bad patch. What a run this would be. Kirui, Boston Marathon winner this year. So what a great platform that is, because as you know, Steve, Boston is a really, really tough marathon. It's not one where you're going to run 2:04 plus change, but it certainly separates the men from the boys. So what a way that was for Geoffrey Kirui
we're looking
to come into the World Championship.
Kirui is away. This man, though, has got all sorts of problems. So what does he do? He is slowing, but is he slowing enough for the others behind him, Simba, Kipkeita, Hawkins, to catch up? We'll have to wait and see. Difficult to see when you just look at it like this, because he looks quite comfortable. So does this man, though. Kirui just easing ahead. Good crowds around the course today. Don't forget, we've still got the women's marathon coming a bit later in the day, so it's non-stop really here. That's the problem, as Rob said. Some of these bends, really tight turns for these marathon runs, and you can imagine the fatigue in the legs, and you have to keep turning a 90-degree angle all the time. It does take its toll.
London looking good in the sunshine. So many great landmarks these athletes will pass, but now they're into the real painful part of the marathon. Tamirat Tola, an Olympic bronze medalist on the track. The question, Steve, is he's clearly going to be suffering, they all are, but whereas Kirui will be mentally buoyed by the fact that he's getting ever so closer to a world title, Tola knows that the wheels are beginning to come off, and he'll start to come under psychological pressure to stay ahead of Simbu and Kipketer in third and fourth, and Hawkins in fifth.
Yeah, there's about 15 minutes of running left, really, in the marathon, if they're running about 2:10, which I think Tola will be doing. And that's a long time if your legs are fading, it really is. And as the others maybe catch a glimpse of him just ahead, it's almost like giving them an incentive to just go for it, really catch him as they can.
Right, so this is significant because it shows that Alphonse Simbu, who was fifth in Rio, has broken Kipketer. Kipketer's in the distance there. He's now the athlete in fourth place. Simbu is chasing Tola, the Ethiopian, in second, and we know Geoffrey Kirui is leading. So the significance here is what Kipketer's worried about. He's looking behind because the question is, where is Callum Hawkins? And if Hawkins can get back to Kipketer, does he have half a chance of closing on Simbu?
Kipketer is literally dying on his feet there. He had trouble going around that. Look at that, you can tell by the body language. There's nothing left. He's hanging on in, and it's a good indication maybe if anybody's coming up just behind him that they could see that fatigue and use that to their advantage.
Well, there'll be a lot of people getting excited in Tanzania to see whether Simbu can get on the podium. A great athlete, and he's running really well in third at the moment as we once again turn our attention to our leader, Geoffrey Kirui. A man who showed great promise on the track and then decided to try his fortunes on the roads, and he's done so to great effect. Not too interested in the little shower there to cool him off. It's not too hot, and as we said at the start, Steve, conditions pretty much ideal for marathon running, even though local time here in Great Britain, we're coming up to 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, I don't think there's been a major problem with any of the conditions here today. The wind has dropped. It's about 20 degrees, and a lot of the course in the shade. There's Tola, though. He's still, I suppose, got a rhythm going there, and it's not. He's checking his watch again. I think he's checking to just see how much time he's got before he gets to anywhere near. There he is, just going past that shower that we just saw Kirui go past. So they're about 300 or 400 meters ahead.
And comparing their body language as we watch Kirui, and Kirui had another little look over his shoulder there, I would say Tola is suffering. This looks a better momentum from Kirui than that which we just saw from Tola.
Yeah, I think Kirui's got the gold, no question about that. I mean, he's looking at, I think it's natural for an athlete in front, especially when you're tired, to keep looking over your shoulder. It's not the fact that you're tiring, you just want to be assured that what you're doing is good enough to keep you in front. But this is a different rhythm though. Look at this. This is a much better rhythm from Samba coming through now. And if Simbu could just keep this going, I think that there's that water check again, so that he's not that far behind, if you think about it. And Tola, as I said before, must sense that someone is coming.
So that's Simbu trying to close down Tola. And meanwhile, back down the course, Callum Hawkins will be hoping to close down Geoffrey Kipketer, who won Mumbai last year. He's now in fourth place. But Kirui looks so composed here, Steve. He's not showing too many signs of fatigue here, and I'm sure he is suffering and feeling it because he's been running for almost 2 hours.
Well, as you said earlier, I think right at the very beginning, he's got that great style. Very small, compact man, not much weight to carry around the course, and he's got the economy of style, which is essential. As you said before, you can't have anything that's going to really waste energy in a marathon. Beautiful style, low real knee lift, really not much knee lift there, so he's not lifting his thighs up too high, and plenty of power in those calves to keep him going. This is it. This has almost been a solo effort, really, over the last 5K. But checking again. He's always checking. There's Tola. He's still running, still looking okay. But the question is, what's the differential in speed between him and the chasing groups? Just coming down the same part that we saw Kirui come through there as they turn yet again. Just over the 2 hours now, so we're into crunch time in the marathon. Less maybe than 10 minutes, or maybe just about 10 minutes to go before they come into the Olympic Stadium here.
And when you think of the great names who have featured on the podiums in the previous editions of the World Championships, some of the greats have added to their fast times in the big city marathons with medals in the World Championship. Garib's won this a couple of times. Abel Anton's won it twice. Douglas Wakihuri in 1987. Rob de Castella winning the inaugural edition. And there is the answer to the question of how far is Callum Hawkins behind Kip Keita. The answer is he's closing, and closing fast. Fifth is going to become fourth for the Scot.
Well, this is a great run from Hawkins, and I think he knows he's got him, because if you see the difference in styles between those two, it's significant. And Hawkins is really having a terrific run here. No one, I don't think, expected this from him. And to do it in your host nation, in front of probably your home crowd, what more could you ask?
It's a fantastic run from Hawkins, and if he does finish in fourth place, that will be the best performance by a British male marathon runner since Charlie Spedding got the bronze in Los Angeles in 1984. Meanwhile, Kirui closing in on the biggest moment of his career here on the streets of London, and he's weathered the storm. There's no doubt when Toller went past him, he had to battle the mental demons, but on that occasion, he had the strength to come back to the Ethiopian and then go past him. Here's Simbu for Tanzania. A brilliant run from him at the moment. Fifth back in Rio. And look at Callum Hawkins. He's gone past Kip Keita. Kip Keita's race is over. And you might hear a little bit of noise around our microphones, because here in the stadium, they're putting the end of the marathon on the big screen. And the crowd, with many Britons among them, are getting very excited to see Callum Hawkins in fourth place. The key piece of information we need in terms of the battle for the bronze is how far behind Hawkins is from Simbu. I think Simbu's still moving quite well in third,
he is.
Steve.
That's the problem. But how slowly is Tola moving? Because that's the other question. If Tola dies over the last 10 minutes, then maybe there is a chance. 40k mark just coming up there, 2k to go. Well, they're seeing all these symbols now, and they must think they're close. Closing in on the Olympic Stadium.
29 seconds, Callum Hawkins' deficit to Alphonse Simbu. And Simbu is also trying for a very special piece of history for his nation, because I'm just checking, I don't think a Tanzanian male has ever finished on the podium in a World Championship marathon. They've had some great performances over the years, most notably recently in the Commonwealth Games. Great performances from the Tanzanians back in the day in Brisbane in '82, but we still have so much drama to come, perhaps, in this marathon. Kirui is doing brilliantly at the front. We've got Tola hanging on to second place. Simba flying the flag for Tanzania. No male from his country has ever stood on the podium of a World Championship marathon. And Callum Hawkins of Great Britain in fourth, on his way to producing the best performance from anyone from his country in male marathon running for well over 30 years.
Well, this is relaxed, super efficient running from Kirui now. He must be now within, what, 1.5k of the finish. And he's looking very, very comfortable. There's some of the teammates there, the Kenyans on the outside, they're cheering him on. He's done a great job. He did everything that was asked of him. When the attack came from Tola, he didn't respond quickly. He just waited until he had the right fitting in his legs to close the gap. And as soon as he did, he went straight up and straight past the man. He's tiring a little bit. You can see the head now just slightly tilted to the right. Arms still pumping away though. Beautiful style.
Geoffrey Kirui knows that surely, notwithstanding an injury or a sudden attack of cramp, he is almost there, following in the footsteps of some great athletes. Douglas Wakehuri, his countryman, winning 30 years ago in Rome in 1987. Luke Kibet won in the scorching heat of Osaka. We were both there, Steve, in brutal conditions. And Abel Kirui, no relation to Geoffrey, won in Berlin and in Daegu. That's Toller in second place, and he is suffering.
He's suffering, but give him credit. He's hanging in. He really is. He's been suffering maybe now for the last, 5K or more. But the rhythm is still there. You know, there's enough incentive, I think, for him if he can just hold on, because this man is trying desperately, Simbu, to catch him. You can see him up ahead. You can see the motorbikes, and he knows he's just ahead of those motorbikes. And what's the gap? Maybe 200 meters or so. So it really isn't over, but there's a big, big gap.
Simbu is in third, trying to close down on Tamirat Toller, last year's bronze medalist over 10,000 meters. And what range that would demonstrate if Toller can hang on for a medal. 2 successive global championships, and he's got medals, 1 in the 10 and 1 in the marathon. But there's Kirui. He's closing in on the performance of his lifetime. Yes, world junior champion over 10,000 meters, but now he's flying the flag for Kenya as a senior athlete, and he's doing so in fine, fine style. Geoffrey Kirui is now waving to the crowd and celebrating. He has timed his drive to the finish to perfection, and what a setting in which to become a world champion.
Beautiful. The finish this time at Tower Bridge, and it's a wonderful, wonderful stretch. Look at that. The crowds will know that this is where to be if you want to watch them come in. This man has done a great job. He really has. Pushed all the way, almost solo really, because Toller was there, but in the end, the wave in the end signifies that this man has had a great race and coming home now, the new world champion in the men's marathon.
Geoffrey Kirui enjoying this moment, and he should do. Thousands of people lining Tower Bridge, and after 2 hours and 8 minutes of brutal running, Geoffrey Kirui is the world champion on Tower Bridge in the sunshine, with thousands cheering him on. The greatest moment of his career so far.
Wonderful performance from Kirui, and as Catherine just reminded me, that's the first medal, gold medal for Kenya at these championships so far. Toller coming through now. He's hung on, good on him. He's done it the hard way, really. He's dying, but he's keeping it going. He's looking at his watch, just checking his time. It's not necessary to check your time. You can see the finish, but look how close it is in the end. Is it going to come down to a sprint, Rob? It could be, but it looks as if that gap just isn't possible for Simbu.
Great running from both these guys, Steve. Tamirat Toller thought at one stage he was going to take this race. He was in the lead by 35, 40 meters or so. He has really battled the demons since being overtaken by Geoffrey Kirui, and you don't often see marathon runners trying to sprint to upgrade a bronze to silver, but Tamirat Toller will be on the podium. Is there another big burst from Alphonse Simbu? Simbu's trying to change a bronze to a silver. This is so close. Toller's hanging on here as Kirui jogs back down the field. It is silver for Tamirat Toller, and it's bronze for Alphonse Simbu, the first Tanzanian male ever to get a World Championship marathon medal. And this is the best performance by a British man in world or Olympic marathons for 33 years. Not since Charlie Spedding got the bronze in LA have we seen a performance as good as this. It is 4th place for Callum Hawkins, and what a brilliant run from a brave, aggressive Scot. That was the best race of his life. Here is a confirmation of the top 9. Geoffrey Kirui is the world champion. Tamirat Tola took the silver by 2 seconds ahead of Alphonse Simbu. And what about that from Callum Hawkins, a lifetime best in 4th?